What's going on, everybody? C4 here, and welcome to today's video. Originally, I had some sort of experiment Madden video that didn't work. I was going to try to win a Super Bowl with QB sneaks only, and they kind of patched the QB sneaks, which nixed that video. So I was just like, man, I need to put a video today. What should I do? Looking in the comments, it comes up almost every single video. C4, where are your NFL predictions for the upcoming season? Here they are. I'm going to tell you right out the rip. Don't expect a whole lot of hot takes or surprises. That's kind of why I was like, do I even bother doing it this year? But I guess I still should stick my neck on the line and look like an asshole for taking not necessarily the popular pick, but like no real reaches in any of my predictions and be like, oh, C4, look, you should have gambled on something. Would have made you look even smarter. So we're going to go through divisional predictions, playoff predictions, award predictions, and we'll finish quickly with a little bit of college football, talking about the playoff and the Heisman. So we're going to jump right away into the divisional predictions. Now, last year we actually did pretty good with our divisional predictions. I think as a whole we're like 70% in my predictions on the year, which is a little bit down for me. Usually I'm in the 90s, clearly, but 70% for predicting the season way ahead is not bad, just for some asshole that talks on YouTube. So let's see if we can add to that success. And we'll start in the AFC East. So I have the AFC East going as this: New England Patriots at 1, winning the division. The New York Jets at 2, Buffalo Bills at 3, and Miami Dolphins at 4. Now, I think the Miami Dolphins, Tannehill's not the option there. I think that most Dolphins probably know that they're not going to compete if you're a realist, and you should be, kind of gambling for that high draft pick so you may be able to land a Drew Lock or a Justin Herbert or someone like that in the draft class. The Buffalo Bills at 3 because, they still do have a lot of pieces from a playoff team a year ago. I just think that their quarterback situation's a little bit of a mess, and I actually do like Josh Allen. I know he's one of the popular guys to hate on, because of the parallels to Carson Wentz as an athlete and his arm talent. I think Josh Allen will develop into a fine quarterback. He just doesn't have the skill position players in Buffalo to really maximize his strengths nor hide his weaknesses. So I think it could be a little bit of a learning curve there. I have the Jets at number 2. I think the Jets have a solid roster. No worse, no better, really, than the Bills or Dolphins. Maybe some different strengths, different weaknesses, but as a whole, I wouldn't say. But they definitely have the best coach out of the 3 teams. And I do like Sean McDermott. Gase is kind of Chip Kelly 2.0. But I think Todd Bowles, the fact that he had by far the worst roster on paper last year with the Jets, maybe the worst starting day roster I've ever seen. And the Jets were competitive throughout the year. I don't think Todd Bowles gets nearly enough credit. And I think the Jets are going to be runners-up. But it does not really matter. None of these other teams outside of the Patriots are going to be flirting with the playoffs. Going to the AFC North, I have the Pittsburgh Steelers winning. Again, my God, surprise, surprise, hot take, whoa. C4 Skip Bayless over here. Pittsburgh Steelers are really good, even with the Le'Veon Bell situation. I think if you exclude Le'Veon Bell, you throw in like a James Conner, they still are the top to bottom best roster in the North. Ben Roethlisberger looks good. Maybe the Mason Rudolph pick lit a fire on his ass. You have the best wide receiver in football in Antonio Brown. Maybe the best wide receiver core in football, or emerging one, with now Juju Smith-Schuster. James Washington has looked good in the preseason. Offensive line, when healthy, is probably the best offensive line in the AFC. Top 3, top 5 offensive line in the league. Defensively, yes, they don't have Ryan Shazier, but I think, the Morgan Burnett addition was nice. TJ Watt's only going to get better. Casey Hayward came. Hayward's really, really underrated. Steelers are going to win that one. But how I finish out the North is maybe surprising. I have the Cleveland Browns at 2, Baltimore Ravens at 3, and Bengals at 4. Bengals are just... get rid of Marvin Lewis. Just change everything. You don't necessarily have to move on from Andy Dalton. Just change the culture there, man. Nothing's going right, and you're wasting the good years of A.J. Green, which is a shame. They're not going to be terrible, but they're just clearly not a playoff caliber team unless everyone else gets hurt and they stay healthy. The Baltimore Ravens at 3. I think it's just more so they're going to move on from Joe Flacco at some point, probably later on in the year. I'm going to guess maybe week 15, week 16, give Lamar Jackson the last 2 games because playoffs are already out of reach, and that is going to be the direction you're taking your franchise in the future. They still have a really nasty defense. I just don't really believe in their offensive line to be able to get the job done with Joe Flacco as their starter, and they still don't really have that juice at the skill position players. And when you look at the Browns, literally all of their offensive off-season moves are about just controlling the game because their defense is going to be pretty damn good. I think the Browns are going to flirt with a top 10 defense, if not have an outright top 10 defense. They have like one of the most expensive linebacking cores in the league with Kirksey, Kendricks, and Jamie Collins. They got a lot of big-time investments via draft picks in Myles Garrett, Larry Ogunjobi. You got Ogba. You got Denzel Ward. Jabril Peppers. I think these guys kind of put it together here now in Greg Williams' defense. I think they're going to be just an absolute headache for a lot of teams. And like I said, on the offensive side, they got a 3-headed running back attack. Josh Gordon, Jarvis Landry, Antonio Callaway, David Njoku got a breakout year. Tyrod at QB, a good offensive, maybe not good, but a above average to good offensive line. I think the Browns are going to win 5 to 7 games and come second in the North. But again, kind of like the East, I don't think any of these back-end teams are going to be challenging for a wild card spot. Looking at the South, maybe my first kind of, whoa, that's a surprise. Are the Houston Texans winning? I'm a big Deshaun Watson fan, so maybe that's kind of influencing my pick here, but I think he's going to bounce back. And I really kind of see the Houston Texans maybe emerging as that next Seattle Seahawks type build. You have Deshaun Watson drawing the parallels to Russell Wilson. You have the big splashy outside players, and I think you might even want to give the edge to the Texans. But again, they're a team that's going to have to rely on their mobile quarterback to compensate for their average to shit offensive line. But when I look at the Texans, I think DeAndre Hopkins is the second best wide receiver in the league behind Antonio Brown. You have a very capable run game. Will Fuller was excellent and an excellent rapport with Deshaun Watson. I mean, like 8 touchdowns in 3-4 weeks. Defensively, if they stay healthy, they're definitely one of the best defenses in the league. And you add in Honey Badger, I think the Texans are going to be an absolute problem. But I do think as a whole, the South will be the most competitive division in the AFC. The Jacksonville Jaguars coming at number 2. The only real difference between the Jags and Texans are I just think Blake Bortles will cost them a couple games with, you know, just stupid turnovers. And I don't hate Blake Bortles. I know it's a meme to hate Blake Bortles. I liked him at UCF. Pretty much Ben Roethlisberger 2.0. A couple years ago, 30 touchdowns. He's a capable quarterback, but he still struggles with turnovers. And I think that may cost the Jags from time to time. And maybe they're not as good at wide receiver as some people think. I know a lot of guys think, oh, they got Dede Westbrook, Keelan Cole, Marquise Lee, all these guys can step up. But they don't have like that proven wow guy. They lost that in Allen Robinson. They didn't have him last year, and they still made the playoffs. But I think that some people are maybe giving their wide receivers too much credit when the proof has not been established. And the new change at tight end and everything. But Jags are still going to be very good. I have them as one of my wild card teams. Number 3 is the Tennessee Titans. I think the Tennessee Titans are going to be very, very average. But average is what can still get the Titans into and challenge for that wild card 2 spot. That's the mantra of the Titans. I think Corey Davis is going to have a breakout year. I think Derrick Henry is an upgrade with the new running attack, but it still is a brand new head coach, and not too often you see brand new head coaches take their team to the playoffs. So I think the Titans are going to be competitive, and I definitely can see a breakout year from Corey Davis. But as a whole, and their defense is pretty goddamn underrated, but as a whole, I just don't think Mike Vrabel's going to put all the pieces together here in the 2018-2019 season for them to make a playoff run. I think next year, maybe, but they got to get someone in there as a quarterback mind, a really good offensive coach, kind of like we saw what happened with Philadelphia and Carson Wentz's progression from year 1 to year 2. Something like that needs to change in Tennessee to get the most out of Marcus Mariota. And then at number 4, we have the Colts. I mean, Andrew Luck. I think the Colts aren't going to be as bad as people think, because I think Andrew Luck can and will carry them to some wins. But they still are not a complete roster, and Frank Reich still is going to need at least another offseason and draft to kind of put his stamp on his team. Finishing up in the AFC in the West, first place, I am going with the Chargers, even with their injuries. With Jason Verrett and Hunter Henry, I think the Chargers are going to be just real nasty. One of the best defenses, if not the best defensive end tandem in the league, in Melvin Ingram and Joey Bosa. Unbelievable depth in the secondary. Losing Jason Verrett, and they still look like the best secondary in the division, which is pretty redonkulous. And offensively, I think this might be the year Phillip Rivers finally can establish a rapport with his wide receivers, keep Keenan Allen healthy. Mike Williams could emerge. And the offensive line, I like Forrest Lamp. He's going to be healthy. You got Dan Feeney. I think, you know, and Melvin Ingram having a breakout year, developing as that complete running back, as a guy that can, you know, catch 40, 50 balls out of the backfield. I think the Chargers are going to be a problem. Number 2, I have the Denver Broncos. I think Case Keenum is pretty much walking into an ideal situation like he had last year with the Minnesota Vikings. Just navigate this really talented roster to the playoffs. That's all you have to do. I think he can do that. The Raiders at 3, again, transitioning year with John Gruden. You can tell by some of the surprise cuts and some of the moves there and the whole Khalil Mack situation. It's going to take a little bit for John Gruden to, you know, get everything right. I think the Raiders will definitely be in the hunt for that wild card spot. I think Derek Carr is, you know, it's only beneficial for Derek Carr having John Gruden there, but I still think as a whole they are just going to miss out on the playoffs. And I have the Kansas City Chiefs coming in at last, just maybe some learning curves with Patty Mahomes at QB, and I really do think getting rid of Marcus Peters without a ideal replacement, because Fuller's a nickel corner, not an outside guy, I still don't like that move. But again, really competitive division. But for me, the Chargers are winning it, and our 2 wild card teams from the AFC are going to be the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Denver Broncos. Moving to the NFC and NFC East, we're going with the Eagles. Eagles are breaking the NFC East curse of no back-to-back divisional winner. They are the best team top to bottom. And if it's one of those things, well, what if there's injuries? Well, they found out last year that Eagles can deal with injuries as good, if not better, than every other team in the league. I think Carson Wentz is going to be ready within the first 2 weeks. If he doesn't play Atlanta, he should play week 2 against, I think it's the Bucs they play week 2. Eagles are winning, man. Eagles top to bottom. They can suffer injuries at a bunch of positions. Knock on wood, and they still have the best roster in the division. I think Dallas is going to come at number 2. I'm just, everyone knows with Dallas. Now we have the whole Travis Frederick thing. Hopefully he can get back sooner than later, but that is a massive loss. He's top 3 center in the league, and they are a team that needs to control the line of scrimmage, but they have no wide receivers. They just have no wide receivers, and I think their defense is above average. Their defense is not good enough to carry their offense. So I think Dallas is going to come 2. I have the Redskins at 3. Just I think Alex Smith will be able to manage them, and they're just kind of balanced. Yeah, Adrian Peterson, I don't really know how much he's going to do, but I mean the Redskins still are. They're just an average team. And we have the Giants at 4. Only reason why I kind of have the Redskins over the Giants is the Giants are, again, they have the splashy players like Odell, and they have the splashy player like Saquon Barkley. And they have a couple bigger, more popular names, but I think that transition from a 4-3 to a 3-4 is kind of what I have the Giants struggling a little bit. Usually takes 2 years to make that full-fledged switch, and I don't think the Giants are quite there. Plus their offensive line, even with the additions of making Nate Solder the most overpaid tackle in football and a really good selection of Will Hernandez, I don't think their offensive line is going to be able to dominate the line of scrimmage to really maximize the strengths of Saquon Barkley to be this elite day 1 all-pro like some people think. There's got to be some exciting players, yes, but as a team as a whole, they are the worst in the East for now. Going to the NFC North, I have the Vikings winning it outright, top to bottom, best roster, even with Kirk Cousins, and I think that they're going to regret paying him that much money. They still have the best roster in their division. Not much more you can say. Elite defense for sure. Only real question mark I would say about the Vikings is the offensive line. Number 2 is going to be the Packers. They still are a one-man team with Aaron Rodgers. Their defense is a work in progress. Their offense, I think Jimmy Graham was a good addition, but losing, I personally wouldn't have gone away of Jordy Nelson, even though Devontae Adams probably is going to have a breakout year. But just comparing the rosters, the Packers can't compete with the Vikings. But still, I have the Packers making the playoffs. Number 3, I'm going with the Bears. Now, I think the Bears and Lions are pretty similar in terms of talent. I'm just going to go with the fact that the Lions are kind of stuck in a rut. They're kind of stuck in, do they have, it's the same thing with the Lions every single year offensively. It's like, all right, how many yards does Matt Stafford have to throw? Will we have a 100-yard rusher? I think the changes that Chicago have will have them kind of, creep up and maybe pass the Lions. It's going to be a battle, but I don't think either one of these teams are just missing that one thing, that one key piece to make them a legit playoff contender. I think if the Bears and Lions both were in the AFC, they'd probably be very close to being in the playoffs, but just the fact of the division that they have Aaron Rodgers and the Vikings ahead of them, it just kind of sucks for them. But I do think the Bears are going to be much improved. They're going to look a lot better with Matt Nagy and Trubisky and all those weapons on offense. And Roquan Smith is a monster, and the Lions are going to be good too. I'm not trying to crap on the Lions. I just don't think they have enough pieces to challenge for the playoffs this year. All right, moving to the NFC South, where I have the New Orleans Saints coming in at number 1, even with the Mark Ingram suspension, top to bottom. I mean, I haven't seen a turnaround in a defense in terms of just pure talent like I've seen with the Saints over the last year and a half. They went from being the absolute joke in the NFL on the defensive side of the ball to one of the best. Is that all Marshawn Lattimore? And, I mean, obviously Marcus Williams didn't end the season on the highest note, but for the most part last year, he was really, really good. I think Drew Brees, in the absence of Mark Ingram, is going to remind everyone, hey, there's a reason why even the last year we just ran the ball like crazy. I could still pretty much throw for 4,000 yards with the flick of the wrist very easily. So I think the Saints are going to win the South. I think the Falcons are going to come in at number 2, top to bottom. Very underrated roster. Not a lot of people are talking about them. I think their offense still is a little sketch with Sarkisian and Matt Ryan. I know some people are either thinking they're going to be terrible or Matt Ryan is going to be like a low-key MVP candidate. I think they're going to fall somewhere in the middle, and that will still be good enough for the Falcons to make a playoff push. The Carolina Panthers at 3, still not enough weapons. The offensive line took a big hit with Norwell leaving. Defense is getting older. Thomas Davis suspension, still not completely sold on their secondary. And then the Bucs are at number 4, and I definitely think the Bucs have a chance of being the worst team in the league. Sorry, Bucs fans. Finishing up with the NFC West at number 1, we're going with the Rams. I mean, outside or probably included with my Eagles and probably the Vikings, the top to bottom best team in the league. They spent the money. This is their window right now. This is definitely their Super Bowl window. And yeah, they're going to be very good. And the division's not the strongest it's been in years past. Are the 49ers coming in at number 2? Even though I do think they might be one of the most overrated teams in the NFL, they still have a pretty damn good roster with Jimmy Garoppolo executing Kyle Shanahan's offense. I'm still just not so sure, again, about the back end, even with Richard Sherman. There's still just a bunch of unproven talent on that team. The offensive line, we don't know how good they're going to be. The run game, there's a slight gamble with Jerick McKinnon. They'll still be good, though, but they'll definitely be, I think, on the outside looking in, maybe at some point during the year, looking like they could very well emerge as a wildcard team. I have the Seattle Seahawks at number 3, even though the Legion of Boom's still gone. They're going to have Russell Wilson, who I guess will be playing at an MVP-type caliber season. And then the Cardinals at 4, transitionary period, I think it's going to be more so this year, getting Josh Rosen ready for the 2019-2020. So I have the Rams, Saints, Vikings, and Eagles winning the division, and the 2 wildcard teams are going to be the Atlanta Falcons and the Green Bay Packers. So just kind of going into the playoffs, I just have the AFC Championship game being the Patriots and the Texans, and the hot take is that the Houston Texans will get past Bill Belichick. I just think mobile quarterback could cause some headaches. New DC that's there, even though it's always been Bill Belichick's defense. I think maybe someone like Deshaun Watson. I think Bill O'Brien has something up his sleeves. Former understudy, worked with Bill Belichick a bunch of years there in New England. I think Bill O'Brien could be the guy to upset the Patriots. And then the NFC Championship, Eagles, Rams. And you better believe, like I said, people already 15 minutes in, Eagles are going to the Super Bowl. I don't know if I want to call it right now that the Eagles are winning 2 Super Bowls, because then everyone's just going to click off. But if it's the Eagles and the Texans, that's kind of what I'm feeling right now. I think the Eagles win that one all day long. So looking at the individual awards, coming right off me saying that the Eagles are going to win the Super Bowl for back-to-back years and kind of make a dynasty run here during this little window, which probably has a bunch of you guys rolling your eyes. My MVP is going to be Carson Wentz. There is no chance in hell with this RPO that's unstoppable that I don't think teams and defenses are going to catch on this year yet. I think Carson Wentz is going to be going full force. The fact that he has that motivation that he didn't get to play in the Super Bowl, that with a full-strength lineup, the best offensive line in the league, it could change. This could change if Alshon Jeffrey does miss significant time. No one really knows if he's going to put on the PUP, which would have him, miss the first 6 games of the season. But I still think right now, out of all the candidates, it's still pretty close. There's a bunch of ways it could go. I think Carson Wentz is going to be not the favorite. He's still like a top 3. It's not like, oh my God, biased Eagle fan. Carson Wentz is still a top 3 favorite for the MVP. That's pretty much Brady, Rodgers, and Wentz. I'm going Wentz. Offensive Player of the Year, I'm going Deshaun Watson, especially if the Texans are making this push. Defensive Player of the Year, I'm going Jalen Ramsey of the Jacksonville Jaguars. It's been a couple years since a DB has won it. I think Troy Polamalu in 2010, Charles Woodson 2009, 8, something like that. There was a nice little period where DBs got that respect. I think Jalen Ramsey can bring it back. He's going to be the face of that Jags defense. Offensive Rookie of the Year, I'm going Saquon Barkley, not because I trust the Giants' offensive line, but I just think he's going to have the sheer amount of touches to give him that award, and he's uber talented. Defensive Rookie of the Year, I'm going Roquan Smith. I think he's going to get a lot of turnovers, a lot of tackles, and a couple maybe touchdowns for fumble recoveries for a touchdown. Coach of the Year, I'm going Bill O'Brien. I think the fact that the Texans are going to go from worst, even though they were absolutely pillaged injuries, still they were worst to first. You got to give it to him. I don't think Doug Peterson's going to get it, even if the Eagles win their division again, because if Doug Peterson did win Coach of the Year last year, I don't think he has a chance in hell of winning it ever, because he was undisputedly the most deserving Coach of the Year candidate last year, and he didn't win it. And Comeback Player of the Year, if Carson Wentz wins MVP with all the quarterbacks, the big name players coming back off injuries this season, this is actually probably the toughest award to call. But if Wentz is winning MVP, then he's obviously getting Comeback Player of the Year. So those are my awards. Again, feel free to leave your thoughts and opinions in the comments. If you straight up want to copy and paste this and just post it there and then come back at the end of the year and see if you're right, do that as well. And we're going to finish it up here with some college football. I'm going to predict the 4 teams that I think will be in the college football playoff. National championship game, national championship winner, and the Heisman. And this is really ugly, and I actually feel depressed talking about it. College football playoff teams in order: Alabama at 1, Clemson at 2, Georgia at 3. Yawn, boring. And Michigan. I'm going to go Michigan at 4 as a kind of surprise, but Alabama, Clemson, Georgia are pretty much your perennial contenders. Georgia has just been 5-star recruit after 5-star recruit. They didn't have a drastic turnover. They did get pillaged in the run game, but DeAndre Swift's going to be an animal. Clemson has one of the scariest defenses, maybe the only defense that can rival Alabama this year, and Alabama's Alabama. And I think Michigan, with Shea Patterson at quarterback, finally someone that Jim Harbaugh can utilize and mold into, you know, really Jim Harbaugh should be a QB guy. He should be the guy that has one of the top quarterbacks. Maybe Michigan. That's going to be my kind of dark horse. So the national championship game, however, will be Alabama versus Clemson, and I'm going Alabama to win. I don't know who's going to be Clemson's starting quarterback yet, so that is a big gamble, putting Clemson in all these spots. I think it's going to be Trevor Lawrence. I think Trevor Lawrence is going to be the next big phenom, maybe to have the most reputation based from college into the pros that Andrew Luck had way back when he was at Stanford. That is how good of a prospect I think Trevor Lawrence is, but still Alabama is going to be too much. And Heisman Trophy winner, I'm going Tugo Tagovailoa, the quarterback for Alabama. I think it's just going to be a perfect sweep this year. And it sucks. As much as I love college football, as much as I think college football pound for pound is more exciting than the NFL, it is a little bit redundant when Alabama's just constantly right there. They're the Patriots of college football. So those are all of my predictions for the upcoming year. Again, apologies on the lack of a Madden video. We had some issues, so I was like, all right, let's just get my prediction video out today. Maybe a week early. I don't think too many things would change. And, you know, again, maybe apologies for not kind of stepping out on the line, getting out there and making a bold prediction here and there. I probably could make a bold predictions video, but this is something that I want to kind of hold up throughout the season, being able to refer it and say, yeah, look, I called these, you know, you don't want to make me stupid trying to make too outlandish of a pick just to come off as different. These is how I feel it's going to go down, and you can agree or disagree, whatever. Thanks for watching. That'll do it for me today, guys, though. I will be streaming probably when you guys see this. I might be streaming tonight on Twitch. Follow me on Twitter at PapaXC4. I'll let you guys know because we are one stream away from getting that Twitch affiliate, baby. And this weekend's going to have a lot of good videos. Huskies, new realistic rebuild. So make sure you stay tuned for that. And until next time, it's C4 saying peace out.